So now you were at Badi.
I don't like arguing, I just go my own way. They wanted to take over the country and coffee is Ethiopian.
This was not the last time you left home.
So my mind was already made up, was not going to settle there.
Your childhood is just amazing.
For thousands of years in Ethiopia we had monarch system.
That's so strange. Getting 90%. It was never about why. Cheers. Cheers. So Nardos, you were at Badi. Your parents send some people there. They kind of trapped you, brought you back home, and you're back home. Did you have a conversation with your dad after that? Did your dad ask, why'd you do this?
Yeah, he did. He did. No, he did not do. He's not a guy. He's not. He doesn't really do a lot of this back and forth error analysis. So what happens is, I just returned. He just told me he's very disappointed, and he told me not to do that kind of stuff again. Yeah, he just told me not to do that. But we traditionally we have a problem whereby there is no open conversation. There is a gap between students and teachers, parents and children. There is because of the respect we accord to each other. We don't compulsively ask questions or confront our parents the way we have here in the West. It's different, especially right now. It's clearing a little bit, but not that much.
Got it. But then this was not the last time you left home.
No.
And you ran away. You ran away again, right?
Honestly, what I did once when I was, I think I was in grade 3, and when I don't like something and there is no conversation, I don't like arguing. I just go my own way. When I was in grade 3, I just didn't like something. Initially, I was with my grandmother, and then I went to my father. And in the process, and my mother and father divorced when I was young. So my mother lives elsewhere, and I figured out where she lives. And then I took, and also prior to that, I did a number of runaways. I did.
Local.
Yeah, local. The other one was I went to my grandfather. My grandfather was in a city, in the major city called Dese. That's about 30 kilometers from Kombolja. And I was told by my mother's relatives that my grandfather was a wealthy feudal, and he lives there. So I just went to a minibus. I just told them I'm going to. I just told them people just let me into the minibus, and I went. And then I alighted. I went to a coffee store, a big coffee store, and I met a medium-aged man, and I told him, my name is so and so, my mother's name is so and so, and my grandfather is here, and I came looking for them. I didn't know the guy is my mom's uncle. There are many over there. They are rich, and he just held me. He told the guys to look after the store. He took me home to my grandfather. They bought a big ram. They brought, they slaughtered. It was a celebration at home.
Oh man!
And then after 3 days, they returned me home. So my father.
Your childhood is just amazing.
It's just full of things.
But it's amazing, like it's crazy.
Well, that one really amazes me. I just asked, the very first person I asked is my mom's uncle.
Oh my God.
He was so happy. He held me like a child. He was so happy. He took me home, and wow.
Oh, that's crazy. So, but after the big runaway to Bati, you came back, right?
Yeah.
And then now, what? I mean, after this, you make the big runaway and you end up in Kenya.
Yeah, that was the major one. That's the final one.
So tell me the final.
So
one.
what happens is this: after I returned from Logia, from Djibouti network, initially I wanted to go to Djibouti, yeah. So I came back home. So from there, my mind could not settle in that environment because
Compulsion.
I had already made up my mind that I need to go somewhere bigger to explore the world and do things differently.
But you're not ready to wait.
No, but my father told me I had my aunts in I have my aunts in Finland, and I'm even planning to visit them. So he told me when after grade 12, I used to also be really good for soccer. I used to be good. I really play soccer, professional soccer when I was until I decided to stop because of education. I had to make a decision. So I had a lot of plans. One of them was soccer. If I go to Europe, I'd get a chance to take it to a different level, or else if where I was in soccer in Ethiopia is a waste of time because there are no avenues to exploit it, and the engineering scientific things that I really want to do are not there. So my mind was already made up. I was not going to settle there. But when I went to back and I went to back to school, my Amharic teacher demanded a lot of things and that made me decide to go to the final lab. So nothing happened at home. I didn't have any issues. I didn't have any conflict with anyone. I didn't have anything. Everything, food is cooked. Everything is done, and my clothes are washed. The only thing that we used to have a lot of people working at home because of restaurants and other businesses, and life was very easy. But I really wanted to take the hard way, and then finally I decided to go to Kenya because at home I used to hear people discussing about going to Kenya and then finding people their way out of Kenya through various ways. And also in Ethiopia, the political system became really bad, and our
At that time, when you were a kid, was it a monarchy or was it democracy?
oh no, it was the revolutionary democracy.
What is revolutionary democracy?
It's a kind of so what happened is this. For thousands of years in Ethiopia, we had monarch system.
So there was a king.
The king, the emperor.
How big is Ethiopia as a country?
Ethiopia, right now we have 120 million people. Size, geography, twice Kenya.
Let's say compared to India.
Compared to India, it could be a third.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's a big country.
It is big.
Okay.
It is big. It's 1,500 north to south. Similarly, east to west kilometers.
Okay, that's a big country.
That's big. So finally, I decided to go to Kenya.
Right.
Because I had information already.
Yeah.
And so the monarch system was challenged in 1974. We had a major revolution.
Who? Military? Like
the military.
Okay.
Yeah. So what happened is this: the king started sending young people to the west and everywhere for education.
Okay.
And the king is
young people in his dynasty, or young people,
generally young people, but mainly from feudal families.
Okay.
You know, there is rich families from background, because and also those that have the capacity to learn. We have the church, the traditional church literature and learning education system already well established for long time. That was a long time, well established, over thousands of years. We already have the scholar system there, but under the church. Now, when the modern education system came, the transition was not that easy from the church scholar system and reading and writing in Amharic and Ge'ez. Those are Ethiopian old languages, especially Ge'ez is the ancient language. Amharic is the contemporary language that's under use. So the alphabet is different and everything is different. So those changes had to be dealt with. So the king started recruiting under the king. Young students, good, smart students are recruited, was sent to Yale, Harvard, everywhere in the world. for proper education, especially in the US, Israel, France, England, and this. By then, the king was in line with these capitalist countries, with proper understanding. When that happened, these people, they got proper education and they came back. The king was already surrounded by people who did not get sufficient education by then. So when these young people got fully educated, can you imagine young people going to Harvard that time and coming back? The gap, the knowledge gap between, is so big. So it was very challenging for the system to accommodate them. So they started now brewing revolution.
The young people who went to Harvard?
Yes.
But the king is the one who sent them there.
Yes. That's what happens when you enlighten people.
So that's a funny way.
It is.
The reason I call it funny is, so most of the monarch gets down or goes down by, most of the time, by military revolution.
Yes.
Military revolution is typically stemmed from United States.
Yes.
In this case, they didn't stem the military revolution directly, but their education, I believe in 1970, that's where the education systems in US was getting more about, like, how, more about morals, less about merits.
Yeah.
Right? So these kids are now having a ton of morals and they're coming back and they're not happy about the fact that there's a king in this country.
No, it's not about the king.
So what
initially they suggested that they told the royals, the crown, to step aside the way we had the way we have that in England, in the UK.
Oh, okay.
In the UK, we have the royal families. They stepped aside. Prime ministers, people with brain run the country. Just because of power through inheritance, stupid prince and kings, they cannot come and destroy countries. So that system was broken. So the king in Ethiopia was given that option. They told these young people, they say, we demand you step down or you give it to your son. And then we let people who, because when these people went to the US at that time, Israel, USA, everywhere, those countries were already somewhere else. Can you imagine in 1970 France? That's a fully developed nation.
But what about countries like Saudi Arabia, still monarch, but they're doing well?
That's a different case. That's an entirely different case.
How so?
Saudi Arabia, before the oil was dust, pure dust. There was nothing. Even the country was called Arabia, not Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia is the name of the Saud family. So they struck a deal with the US. The US found out a large reserve of oil. They established a multinational corporation called Aramco, and they gave Saudi Arabia full protection. And then based on not only full protection, they let all the oil to be sold under the US dollar. So that's what they call the petrodollar.
But those are the only countries where there's no revolution. And it's
because they aligned themselves properly with the superpowers. Full alignment, quietly. The day they revolt, the day they start messing around
with the states and all
with the US, is the day when troubles will begin. Because when countries that sign agreement with the US, they start now the same problem we have in Ethiopia. What happened was this: the king aligned fully with the US and all the Western and Israel. And the Israelis they came to Ethiopia, started empowering universities, agriculture, everything started changing. The national security intelligence became so powerful. In the 60s, it became very powerful, fully developed, and the people within those sectors were highly educated in electromechanics and everything by then. Communication systems, fully educated. And that system was established. And because Ethiopia was, because of the independence, the Ethiopia was not colonized, so we mobilized the liberalization of all the rest of the African nations and the rest of the world. Haile Selassie used to go and speak in League of Nations, in United Nations. He used to oppose, and all Ethiopian leaders stood against colonization. And that is one of the major issues in Ethiopia. We have long-term problems because these colonial powers were, if you oppose their way of life, they'll come at you at their full force.
But then during the Second World War, when Germany came to take over Ethiopia, these guys supported Ethiopia.
Italy.
When Italy
Yeah.
came to attack Ethiopia,
Yes.
these guys.
Yeah, no. You see that from that time, the king aligned fully with the Western power.
Okay.
And then what happened is this: because of I was just bringing the roots history
Yeah.
behind what happened to how the revolution started.
Yeah.
Egypt and North Africa.
So the king decides, okay, listen, this is around like 1970s. The king decides, okay, we need to send some young, smart individuals from my country to all these really nice universities around the world for them to get educated and come back. Now they get back to Ethiopia, and these guys are now saying, hey, listen, these countries are like way up ahead. We want you to do something similar to what happened in England. You step aside, you're still going to be the king, but there's also going to be someone else who's going to be ruling. You will be in power on side, just like the Queen of England, or used to be the Queen of England, right? Or you step down, you let your son step up, and we take. So they propose these two things to the king.
Yes.
And the king says no.
No, over my dead body, which happened. They did it, and then what happened is this.
So these kids who came back, right?
Yeah, the Arab countries started putting pressure on Ethiopia because Haile Selassie is in league with Israel and the West. And the Arab country, Palestinians had major support from Arab countries, the Arab world. So the 6-day war made the Arabs really look bad, and it was a very decisive moment, the 6-day war in 1967, the Israel versus Egypt, Syria, and Jordan.
What happened? I don't. Yeah.
That was it's called it's a very famous history whereby from the conception of from the formation, from the day Israel was formed, the Arabs did not recognize the existence of Jewish people and Israel in general. So they did not because of the Jewish settlement, they say that the Palestinians have been displaced, which is true in part, and also the idea of people saying that there are no Jews is unacceptable. They are Jewish people, and especially in our history, we have fully recorded history of everything about them, because we also have Ethiopian Jews. Large number of them. So what happens is the 6-day war happened because the Arabs wanted to exterminate a Jewish state completely. The Israelis had already done their due diligence. By 1965, they already have intelligence, fully detailed intelligence about every Arab country.
So
fully.
So at this point, Israel is a brand new country.
It was a new country, but
right.
The people who went and settled are fully, highly educated and well prepared.
So these are really smart people.
Yeah.
It's a small group though.
Yes.
And then these 3 big countries, that's Egypt, Palestine, and
Syria, Egypt, Jordan.
So not more than 3 countries.
Yeah.
So these guys wanted to go. So there's always that revolt between Jews and Arabs, right?
Oh yeah.
Before that was Nazis and Jews,
yes.
And then it was Arabs and Jews.
Yes.
I think Arabs and Jews has been around for.
No, that's a long.
That's a century.
So what happened is. And then after to avenge the 6-day war in 1973, again they had the Yom Kippur.
So what happened in the 6-day war? So these guys have.
No, the Israelis dismantled this country into pieces.
3 countries?
Yeah. Because they were. You see, the war was, how prepared are you in terms of intelligence? How is that? Information.
Because there are 3 countries.
Because you see, these people, the Israelis infiltrated their military system, their defense. They had information. Who is where? Who is doing what? When were the air forces? When are they operating? What are they going to do? So the very first thing they did is they destroyed the airfields, air forces, and planes before they became airborne.
So even before these guys took off or like lifted off, these guys
Before
were,
they thought about anything, they did a preemptive attack on all of these countries, destroyed all the air forces. From there, they dominated everything. There is no way fighting them. They took Sinai, they took Golan Heights, they took West Bank, they took they took big chunks of land from every country immediately in 6 days. And that was a major turning point. And that created a major drift between who supports whom and what happens where. In 1973, they tried to avenge that. And again, it's called the Yom Kippur. The Israelis were celebrating their annual, we call it Fasika. So they are celebrating Yom Kippur. When they are celebrating
Yom Kippur.
Yom Kippur.
Yom Kippur.
Yeah, that celebration means when they celebrate that, they don't work, they don't do anything, they just.
So it's like Sabbath.
It's now a week long.
Okay, so Sabbath is just on Sunday.
Yeah,
This is like
no, Sabbath for the Jews is Saturday.
Sorry, Saturday, my bad.
So week long.
Okay.
And then what happened is the Arabs knew that. So they went from all the fronts with 500 tanks on all the ways, jets, everything well prepared. They had already planted all this. And after that, the most important thing is the war was really, that was a bloody
So
war.
hold on a second.
Yeah.
So you were saying there was a day, they have the celebration whereby they don't do nothing for a week.
Yeah.
So Arabs were like, okay, that's the perfect time.
Yes.
Let's go take this guys
It
down.
worked.
So they did take them down.
No, they did not, because you see, when if you are a Jew in Israel, you live on alert,
Yeah.
lifetime alert.
I guess that's built into their gene.
That is it.
After like
There is they cannot afford. They made the mistake they made is they were caught somehow. They were surprised. They shouldn't have been surprised. They got too proud by the 6-day war, and they assumed that no one can beat them from there. And that was a costly assumption. So most of the retired big generals had to come to the front again. They had big generals, really big, good ones. They had to come to the front.
So they came back.
They came back and mobilized immediately. They did everything, and they had the war. But the war came with a lot of chaos globally, because Saudi Arabia has to interfere by increasing the oil prices to 3 times or more. At that time, it was too much for the world. It was too much.
Oh, that's the time.
That was a crisis.
That's where, like, I've seen some pictures where people are waiting outside the gas station with the
There you go.
cans.
They said they are not going to sell if they sell at that price, and it was because now they wanted UN and the rest of the Western world to withdraw full support of Israel and create some balance to the Palestinians and other Arab countries. And also, Ariel Sharon almost went to Cairo. You see, the Moshe Dayan, one of the 2 big generals, led their armies until Damascus in Syria and
Cairo,
Cairo,
Egypt.
Egypt. Yeah, those guys are crazy.
So
They don't fear. They just go on fire.
So you're telling me previously they had the intel, and the reason they won is because they preemptively dismantled the military.
Yes.
And this time,
The air forces.
the air forces, this time they didn't even have that intel, but they still.
It was a turning point. There was a probability that they could lose.
But they still didn't.
They did not. That was a miracle.
Now these guys are something.
Yeah.
People undermine them. People say
No.
all kinds of shit about this, but these Israeli Jews, they are something else.
Yes.
Yeah.
But that history, that was in 1973. By 1973, the world was divided into major alliances. We already have the Cold War between the Soviet Union and all the socialist communist nations. We have the capitalist nations. We have those neutral. And then Ethiopia was a monarch system, democratic monarch system.
So what is democratic monarch?
Meaning, as a citizen, you are free to express your ideas, because our kings for thousands of years lived listening to the public. So we have people we call Azmari, musicians, in a big event.
Excuse me, yeah.
In a big event, the Azmaris, the musicians, tell the kings what the public.
That's interesting.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
In a very bomb-breaking expression.
So they
The
kind
kings don't punish the musicians. What they do is they listen, and when they go home, they gather their leaders and they fix the problem.
That's very interesting. So this was the way of communicating to the king in a respectful way.
Yes.
Whatever the sentiment
Yes.
or whatever the current
Oh, that's very
affairs.
interesting. That was
right?
very interesting.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, and we also have the church scholars who speak in twisted terms.
They still do that.
I grew up in that setting, so
Yeah.
really get it.
They never directly say
No, no,
anything.
no.
They are like, like this, like that, like but they would never say this.
But
Yeah.
since the only way you survive as a king is if you understand everyone
yeah.
at that time. So they used to really get them and respond accordingly. So the war in 1974, 1973 ended, and the global reformations occurred. So in the African Union meeting, the Egyptians and the rest of Arab countries stood against Haile Selassie, saying that Haile Selassie and Ethiopia stood for everyone's independence. Ethiopia became a symbol of independence, freedom to the whole world. The world understood what independence means from
Ethiopia.
Yeah. It was every country used to got that information in the beginning, because the defeat of colonial power was something nobody thinks about. Because they came with superior weapons and everything, with map and things like that. And they come when they come, they instigate tribe against tribe, community against.
But they were not
community.
able to do that in Ethiopia.
No, because
Never.
it was
Yeah.
already an unestablished empire.
Yeah.
So coming into there is death, pure
Yeah.
death, because the mountains, the terrains, everything is treacherous for enemy.
Yeah.
So what happens is in that
But
African
that's strange
Union
because
meeting,
they came to India and they took us over. We had like an established civilization for years.
Yes, that's something we will discuss next time.
Yeah.
We will see what, how, and why. That's very
That's
interesting.
crazy.
Yes,
Because that's one of the oldest civilizations, Indus
No.
Valley civilization.
Genghis Khan didn't defeat India.
Yeah, and then these
Forget
guys
about
come over. Yeah.
Genghis Khan was the ginormous of, that was the most destructive emperor, one of the most destructive emperors, the Genghis Khan of Mongol Empire. He invaded everywhere until Eastern Europe, but in India he held a number of battles, did not succeed.
Very interesting. So coming back to
Yeah.
this, yeah.
So what happens is this.
So now what's happening is basically these kids who came back from US, they're against the king.
Not initially they were asking, that's what their idea was. They wanted to change things, the way that everything is money.
So they were not happy with the administration.
No, because they cannot be. Once you go walk, there is no going back.
Interesting.
No.
But from what I understand, like from what you said, the king was actually, compared to other kings, he was a fair king.
Oh yeah,
But
Yeah.
this was not enough.
no.
They wanted more.
Because you see, the king was surrounded by like-minded people who would not listen to reasons. You see, this is the problem with baby boomers. Baby boomers are people who always assume that everyone is wrong. I'm talking about generations between
19.
anyone before millennials,
That's millennials, 1970s, right?
from 1940 to people born from 1940 to 1970
Yeah.
have this deeply problematic perspective that whatever you do, anything you do, a new generation, blah blah, is wrong. Until we recently, young people start becoming billionaires and made them look foolish.
Yeah, I can relate to that.
Yeah. No, that's something I did deep study. I studied that thing so deeply.
I wonder
and
why.
Figured out that baby boomers have one major issue. They say, no, this thing is difficult, we won't understand. And yet, you are talking to them as an expert. So now coming back to
Yeah.
the issue, in that African Union meeting, the Arabs said that Ethiopia was a beacon and a light to the world, and many countries gained independence. Ethiopia supported many countries in their fight for independence. And they used that and they said, but now the king is supporting Israel and the West. Arabs are dying, Palestinians are dying. At least Ethiopia has to take a stand and have a middle ground rather than fully support. And Haile Selassie went emotional, and they praised him so high in the meeting. Said, "You are the father of Africa," because he founded the African Union and so many things. And by the time the African Union was established, almost most of the African countries were under colony. Even those that gained independence were still under neo-colonial grip. It didn't go fully. So, with that, Haile Selassie took some drastic measures that angered the West and Israel. And most of this intelligence, what was intel was support, was withdrawn. So when these revolutionaries wanted to do something, they gained access to. They also got support
From West.
Yeah, but what happened is,
So that was a big strategic mistake from him.
yes, what happened is this: the most disturbing aspect of the event is.
Did he have a religion? Just curious.
Oh yeah, in Ethiopia. Until recently, majority of Ethiopians are Orthodox.
Orthodox Christians.
Orthodoxy is state religion for thousands of years.
That's what I've heard, yeah.
Yeah, that's a state religion.
Yeah.
And you cannot be a king without the Pope, the patriarch, the head
Okay.
of the church has to. Even the name Haile Selassie is not his name. His name is Tafari Makonnen. Tafari Makonnen. Haile Selassie is his kingly, his royal name given by the church.
Oh, nice.
The power of Trinity. Haile Selassie means the power of Trinity.
Oh, nice. That's
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah. So when he was anointed as a king, he will be given the name Haile Selassie.
Must
And
be
then
something.
the crown. Oh, it is. And then the crown given.
So now this guy, so the kids were against him, but he still had the West support. But now he went against West, and then the kids actually, I mean, these rebels are now on the side with the West.
Yeah, and also the military people in the military were highly dissatisfied.
With him?
Yeah, they
Why?
were disgruntled by a lot of.
What did he do to piss them off?
They would give you so many reasons as to why they decided to topple him.
Yeah. Just making sure it's recording here.
Yeah, but the main thing is the way they are appointed.
Yeah.
And supply.
Yeah.
And the areas where they are dispatched. They also said some individual motivated dissatisfaction. Some of the people within the army felt left behind in one way or another. So it's a bit complicated, very deep. So initially, it was the army that was in south that failed to respond. But before that, in 1952, according to the Ethiopian calendar, that is somewhere in 1962, what happened? The two brothers attempted a coup d'etat on the king.
Tried to kill him?
No. The king went abroad for some meeting, a visit, a state visit. So they wanted to take over the country and let him stay there. They did that. Two brothers, they're called Mengistu Nawai and Garmame Nawai. That gave idea to the rest of the youth that they can also, people are learning about the French Revolution, the American Revolution. Especially the French Revolution is how how to overthrow a monarch system. Napoleon in the group. That's something else now. So bringing everything together, because of that, the revolution took place. When the revolution took place, the young people who revolted, they took power, and instead of continuing with the capitalist or making it a free state, they became socialists. They established the socialist state, and that went against the West completely now. So they aligned themselves with Soviet Union.
That's interesting. So these guys are these these guys are funny. Like, these guys bite the hands of the people who feed them. Basically, that's their. The king sent them to school. They messed up the king.
No, that's their own. Every farmer has to contribute a sack of grain to bring the country up. So, and the thing is this.
No, what I'm trying to say is,
yeah,
these kids were sent to school by the king.
yeah,
They came back and said the king too. You
yeah.
know.
That's what the king says. How do I? I just sent you guys.
There's no
to go
loyalty.
and learn, and you come back and no, it's not about loyalty. It's about. By then, one of the major issues was this: land distribution land was owned mainly by feudal families, who are sleeping on it. So when the revolution was over, there was a major slogan that goes by "land to the tiller."
The person who farms.
Yes. So they split the entire nation's land into pieces. That was
Something very similar happened in my state.
Yeah.
They said, like, everyone who owns, you can only own up to 15 acres individually. If you own more than 15 acres, that'll be taken back.
There you go.
So yeah, that's what brought down the same thing, feudal system in back home as well.
Yeah.
Socialism.
And then they said education for all. Ignorance is darkness. Education for all. And everyone who was educated was forced to teach every other person. Not forced, but there was a program, national program. In that national program, people went out. We call it መሰረተ ትምህርት, fundamental education. People learn how to read and write at least.
So going back to this, so these guys, and then the West supports them, but they decide to go completely socialist route, right? So how did they take down the king? So
no, that was the army. The army mobilized.
So they captured the.
Oh yeah, they captured the king.
Yeah.
And they disposed him. They killed and they buried him in somewhere else.
What about the family?
Huh?
Family.
Those rats resisted. They killed, and the rest they escaped. Those that accepted the system continued living.
And then right after that, it's going to be an election, or no?
Oh no. Initially, they were supposed to establish. So we have two of the initial leaders were already assassinated after the revolution.
Why?
It was a bloody revolution.
Who assassinated the leaders?
In the army, the thirst for power was in many people. Many people wanted the presidential seat.
Not one.
No, not one. So the first one who assumed was called Tafari Benti. They assassinated him. And then they assassinated another one called Aman Andom. But people who have the potential to take power and take the country to the next level. Those are part of the people who got proper education. And then another one was Atnafu Abata. And then finally came Mengistu Hailemariam. That's the famous or infamous name. Mengistu Hailemariam lastly settled down. He survived a number of assassinations, some wounded, others without wound, and established the military socialist state, where it's a similar one to the one that we have in Cuba, where in socialist state what happens is the government controls major industries, information, food, what. So that's private corporations or people, private banking, everything is owned by the government and is distributed to the people. And in that system, you are not allowed to have more than what you need.
So that's very similar to China.
It is.
In a way,
They're all
yeah.
the same.
So it's not. So this is revolutionary democracy.
Yeah. No, that one is after.
Okay, so what happens
Yeah.
next?
So what happens is this.
Yeah.
When after 17 years, some tribal forces started now resisting, because the system still has it had some defects. Not some, a lot of them. The problem was in the north we have Eritrea and the Tigray region,
Yeah.
and in those regions they felt neglected by the system.
Eritrea is part of Ethiopia.
It used to be. Right now,
So it's a different country, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because of him, these people started arming themselves, and the Arabs were angry at Ethiopia, so they supported any community that wants to break away. Not just the Arab, or the entire world supported them, fully armed them, gave them information, so they banded together and they defeated the military government. And now came the revolutionary
Socialist.
democracy. Now, under that, a whole tribe came to power, and the country went down. It was the saddest moment for our country in the history of its existence. Tribal, everyone started checking each other's tribe. It went back in history, and due to that, I personally come from the tribe that's established, made everything, the language, the what, everything, the Amharic, the scripts, and the history. And these people, once they started attacking tribe-based discriminations and attacks, and due to that, we were forced to flee the country in large numbers, and even they tried to annex some parts in the north.
So this revolutionary democracy is just like monarchy, run by another tribe.
No, this one is not monarchy. They hold elections every 5 years.
There's only one party.
No, there are multi parties, but the election process is somehow wrong.
What do you mean?
Yeah, because when the military government system went, the party that came, they came with weapons, so they continued controlling everything with weapons, and then spying and intelligence. So anyone who tries to do this and that, if a big party comes to power in that was in Ethiopian in 2005, there was a major political party that almost brought them down. The members have been dismantled and sent all over the world.
So there's multiple parties, but there's only one party who's allowed to win.
Yes.
So it's like China.
I mean, they could release a statistic that says they won 99%.
So it's like CPP.
Yes. No, CPP is clear. They are not going to give power. There is no election in CPP.
Okay, so these guys have a. So this.
No, CPP. I like that thing. I mean, I'm not in support of any form of operation in this life, but the Chinese, they have a system that they created, is theirs.
Yeah, true. So that's just unique to them.
That's unique to them.
But these guys, they have this pretentious elections, but it's just one.
Then when the Eritrean president is asked,
so
about,
they just do this as a ritual.
Yeah, the Eritrean president was asked by CNN or BBC, why are you not holding elections? He said he's not going to allow fake elections to be held in his country.
But that's what he does.
No, there is no election there. He told them, I can hold a fake election like Ethiopia. I can hold fake elections like the West they do, and West public money. But I will not do that.
So is that Chinese president
no, that's the Eritrean president.
Okay, so he's like,
he's
I'm
a
not
funny guy.
Oh, so I don't want to waste.
No, it's a waste of public fund.
Yeah, he's more straightforward at least.
He is. No, he doesn't lie.
Yeah.
You want me to hold a fake election like the US? That's what he tells the journalists.
So you think U.S. election is fake?
No, it's not. It's
Yeah,
a real thing, and the lot of money is spent on it. But the only problem is the options people have.
So this is so just to summarize, revolutionary democracy is when a party basically there's multiple parties, it's not just one party, there's multiple parties. They host elections,
Yeah.
but at the end of the day, these guys by hook or crook, it's just one party who wins.
Yeah.
The other party never wins.
No.
These party bullies them, they have guns, they have everything of that
Yes.
sort. They just like put them down, but they hold elections.
Yes.
Just for the
No,
sake
they
of
hold
democracy.
the election to please the West.
Yeah, so just for the sake of democracy, hey, listen, we're a democracy.
Yes.
We do elections.
To make sure that the funds they get do not stop.
That's hilarious.
It's a mess.
Yeah.
So because of that, we were forced to migrate everywhere.
So now, so the reason so at the time you were like, okay, so you're not liking it back home. So now you're back in Cambodia. You're not liking it.
Yeah.
And then one day you're like, you've heard stories about how you can get out of the country, go places if you're in Kenya.
Yeah.
Now Kenya is a different country.
Yeah. A neighbor in the south.
Neighbor in the south. Do you have to have a passport to go there?
Oh, you do.
You do.
But I was very young, so nobody cared.
Okay.
I just crossed the border.
So what happened? So tell me that story.
So what happened is this.
So you crossed. So just to get an idea. So you went to a different country that's like from Ethiopia to Kenya, and these are two different countries, and you need to have a passport to travel between countries.
Yeah.
But you traveled to Kenya without a passport.
Yeah.
So tell me the story. So what is it? Yeah.
So what happened is this.
Yeah.
Before I left home,
Yeah.
I tried to persuade as many friends as possible to go with me. The ones that I perceived to have the courage to go out, they were all scared. They said they can't go. They don't want to go. That's too far. And those that I never expected, boys who grow up at home, I call them mama's boys. They agreed to go. I was shocked. The mama's boys, the boys that I hang out with, the ones that we go to the wilderness and do every adventure,
The
got
mischiefs?
scared.
Yeah.
And the mama's boys agreed to go. 3 mama's boys agreed to go.
What was this discussion like? You would meet up at random places
I just go tell them, I'm going. So do you see anything in 10 years? What do you see? What do you think you'll be in 10 years? I just ask them. Well, do you think you'll be in 10 years? Do you think you're going to have this? You see, you're going to be to the ones that the things that we see in the movies and TV? You think you're going to get those things done here? Say, no, they have already given up. Because the political system made sure that we give up. It was something pre-planned. Okay, we see with so many sanctions, socialism and all these things crippled our country. During the king, the Western model started. So everything was supposed to continue and we are supposed to run parallel to the West. Big. Everything crashed because of the socialism. And the new generation that was born during our time, in the 90s, as we grow up, we all gave up. There was nothing you could see. It was so hard. Especially if you have access to information. You watch movies, things like that. You see the difference. You cannot settle. So I tell these young guys, do you think what do you see in 10 years? Do you think you have something good going? I say, no, then I have a plan. You see, I show them, if we go here, I heard that from there are ways to go this way, that way, this way. And then fine, let's go. Let's see what happens. And then finally, we agreed to go. So we started going from town to town to town to town. So I have relatives in every major city, so I make sure that they don't catch me, because bus stations are like, a bus station is a general bus station. It's a big, large compound with buses from that city, here. So if your relatives will catch you at the interval in which the buses arrive. So if you're going from Cambodia to Addis Ababa, directly in Addis Ababa, they will wait for me there. So what I did is we alighted in the nearest town, not in the major city, nearest town. From the nearest town, we went direct to. We crossed the capital city, and that way, we arrived at Moyale. Moyale is the border city between Kenya and Ethiopia. We have Ethiopian Moyale and Kenyan Moyale.
So what's the border like? Is it like Niagara? You can walk to the border, or
Much more. Yeah, there is a big bridge, not that big. There is a small river, there is a seasonal river, and there is a bridge. And if you go through
sorry,
the bridge,
what's the border? What's the border called?
Moyale.
Moyale.
Yes. If you go direct through the bridge, you have to show your papers. But the people who live across the borders are the same people. So back in behind the across the river, nobody. People go there, work, come back home. They go there, they can't. There is no border there. It doesn't exist because people are the same. It's the same community. I cross the border and then I go to the Kenyan Boyale. The music is Ethiopian, the food is Ethiopian, coffee is Ethiopian. I go 400 kilometers, the same thing.
The language is
The language is we have 81 communities with about 100 dialects. One of the dialects is called Oromo. It's spoken at halfway Kenya and halfway Ethiopia.
so you
It's a
speak
big
it.
language.
You speak it.
By then I learned quickly languages. By then I used to communicate. When I lived in Kenya, I English, Amharic, and Swahili. And
How old
some
were you?
French. I was 13 by then.
Okay, so 13. You're in 8th grade, maybe.
Yeah,
So now you're crossing, walking on the bridge to Kenya.
yeah,
You crossed.
yeah.
So what happens? The border police.
Oh no, you don't just cross like that. First, some brokers approached us. When you arrive in these border cities, there are brokers that are scammers. Okay, they'll help you if you
Pay
hold them. No, you find a way to hold them accountable, or else they take your money and vanish. But I came to know the heads of police station, things like that. I talk to people nicely. Even when I was young, I could get along with anyone. And then I told those guys, already told the head of the police, because they say they'll send us through the border to Nairobi. We gave them some money, and they tried to swindle around. I just went to to the head of the police. I told him, so what are their names? A, B, C, D. And the friends told them he has already reported you, and if you get caught, you are dead. They came, they begged me, they gave us the money. They said, you forgive us. You tell the head of the police station that we return your money, and you tell him that we will do whatever it is. I said, okay, then go.
Sorry. Hold on a second. So these brokers came. They took the money from you, but these guys were scammers.
Yeah.
So they were like, okay, all right. They took the
No,
money.
they didn't have the means to send us.
Yeah. So they were like, they promised they would
Yeah.
send you, but they did not.
But the other boys were big. They are 15, 16. So crossing the border for them was impossible
Right.
without passports. I was the youngest one, and someone came and told me, I can take you with my father. They have a truck.
So why would they say that they would take you?
Yeah, because I don't need a passport.
But like, why would they take you just like that?
No, the people over there are compassionate. people when they see you have problems.
But they don't go concerned. You're a 13-year-old.
Oh,
Where's your
no,
family?
no.
Where's your mom? Your
No, it's
No?
just no,
Why?
no.
That's so strange. Because you're a kid.
The lifestyle we have over there is a bit unique.
Explain unique.
The uniqueness is this. For example,
Yeah.
these people have the information that young people from that region go to Nairobi, they hustle and change their life.
Oh, so this is already like
And then we have a network of communities everywhere. So by the time I arrived in Nairobi,
Yeah.
we already have the Ethiopian community everywhere. Ethiopians, Eritreans, they live together as one. So
And this is a common thing.
common thing. So by the time I arrived, they even told me.
How'd you get to know the cop? Sorry.
No, I just went to the police station. I said hi, and then I knew it, and then I explained everything.
You said you were honest.
Yeah.
But the cops were like, oh, you were trying to do something illegal.
Oh no.
Why?
No. They do. We don't have that tradition there. We don't have these illegal things there. These things, it does not exist.
No?
No.
What do you mean it doesn't exist?
No. These illegal businesses, the only illegal business there is contraband, this clothing, illegal clothing. So from Kenya, they sneak items,
Or tax.
fundamental items. Yeah, it's to evade
The tax.
levy and tax.
That's the only legal
That's the
step.
only thing.
But crossing
And
the
those are
border.
if you smuggle a soap, please, clothing, shoes, and they know, they let you go. But other than that, we don't have these other.
So the borders are not very.
No.
It's
Oh, it's open.
Oh.
It's open.
Yeah.
You just go the other side. You finish your stuff. You come back home.
It's not like states border.
No. This one is highly controlled.
Yeah. Or
It's too
Indian border, I
dangerous.
think. Yeah.
Yeah. No, this one is something else.
That's
Over
right.
there, even now, you go there. Go there, you go through the back, you do your stuff, you come back. It's like if you live in Kenya and you want to go to Tanzania, you don't need a passport. You sneak through the border, you finish your stuff, you come back. The only problem is if you get caught doing something silly. Any crime is going to be costly. Other than that, because they speak the same language. If I go to Tanzania, I will have no problem because I speak Swahili. I go say I talk to the people in Swahili and then I finish my stuff and come back home.
Okay. So now you go and there's Ethiopian communities in Kenya.
Yeah, now I arrived in Kenya.
Yeah.
For 3 days, I stayed somewhere called Huruma, a place where the guy who helped me get there, they slaughter goat, sheep, and skin them, dismember,
And you like doing
sell meat. But at that time, I already have something in mind. But when I talk to them, you see, I grew up in a household where you have to work. At home, working is a rule. When you reach a certain age, you have to do something at home.
Right.
It's not optional. It's not negotiable. So I grew up working, which is very nice, which is really good. So when I arrived in Nairobi, I just asked people I need to work, and they took me in a very nice neighborhood called Harlingham. It's called Kilimani. One of the how do we call it? Prime residential areas.
Right.
Very nice, one of the top neighborhoods. I went there. The owner of the restaurant told me he can't employ me because the law is so tough. But he will let me stay for as long as I want. But I'll be doing simple things. I'll be going to the shop, picking stuff, and I told him, no. I can wash dishes. I can do meat stuff. I can do a lot. I used to do a lot of stuff. I used to work properly because that's how I grew up. I'm really proud of this. The way I grew up, it's so nice. I used to work. I used to play hard. Work hard and play hard. Both of them. The only thing that was missing was school. Now, when I came to Nairobi, I fixed that one.
Tell me more.
So
Yeah.
I stayed in the restaurants for about 11 months, and see, when I arrived there, I only had 2 t-shirts and two trousers and one pair of slippers. In 2 weeks, people gave me 3 full bag of clothing, and I was so rich. 3 weeks, I was rich. People used to bring. They give me these. Well, they ask me, where are you from? How did you get here? You're so young. And then some of them even want to take me to their home and raise me. No, I say no. I'm too wild.
Oh my God, that's so.
I'm too wild for that.
Man, these I don't think a lot of people know about these cultures.
No. Oh no, our culture is so. Our community, the how do I put it? You will never sleep hungry in Ethiopian settings. Never.
Even Kenya, I think.
In Kenya, this is what happened. I went there. I knew, like, in a month I was already a celebrity. Everyone knows me. Everyone loves me. They give me money. But the restaurant already is there. So I'm in the restaurant and I have no problem with food whatsoever. But now extra. So one of the neighbors, the sister came to the US. She was a refugee there. She came to the US And the brother was living there. He used to really love me like his little brother. He told me, no, you at this age you shouldn't be working here. My sister sent me a lot of money. So how the refugees live there is when relatives come here, they support them. They send for rent, food, and some basic things. So he says, his sisters, there are 3 or 4 of them. They used to send him a lot of money. He said, the money I receive is good enough. Come and you live with me. And then he used to have his friend and another lady who used to live with us. The lady right now is very rich. The husband did some stuff and they went good. And then I said, okay. When he told me that,
Kenyans are hardworking.
no, these are Ethiopians.
Oh, okay.
These are Ethiopians
Okay.
and Eritreans.
Even Kenyans are very.
Oh no,
even-
I will come to that.
Yeah.
Oh, that one is for
Another time.
When I starting from once I started school. Now I went deep into the Kenyan community. You see, this is what happened. When this guy told me to live with him, there is only one thing I could think about: going back to school. And I was so curious. Why didn't I understand school? And also, when you see in Kenya, students wear uniforms. And then at that age, I'm sitting outside. I see the neighborhood Ethiopian, Eritrean, and Kenyan kids go to school, come back in the evening. Same age. And then in the evening, they play with me outside. That really disturbed me.
Why?
Because suppose I'm 13, 14, 13, and in 4 or 5 years, I will be 20. 6 years, I will be 20. And those guys are going to school. I'm not doing anything. What am I going to be? That was a big question. I said, okay, now that this guy is he gave me a place to live. Now I will not blame anyone for my failures. I'm going back to school. I went to grade 6. I went back. Kenyan education system is very tough. It is the 3rd hardest education system. Very nice education. I went to grade 6, a very nice school.
So you were old enough to go to 8th grade, but you had to go to 6th grade.
Yeah, because I had no clue about anything. My education was blank. I started from zero. I went first. The guy who took me there was the Kenyan national football team coach. I met him through the Ethiopians there. One of them, he took me there. And the headmaster in the school was the head of referees in Kenya. So they are best friends, very good friends. When I went to school to apply for admission, I didn't have any paper. You need papers to transfer from school to school. You need to show that you are in another school. I didn't have anything. So I had to take to the coach. When I went to the coach, the headmaster, the principal told me, you're already 2 weeks late. You come and start quickly on Monday. I went on Friday. It was mid-January.
Why'd you go late?
I didn't know anything. I don't know anything. I even had to ask people in the neighborhood. Ask them some. There is a guy called Blackie. He right now he owns a lounge restaurant. Very nice. He's the one. First I approached. I need to go back to school and things because I didn't have money by then. He used to sell some green leaves and he used to be. He was not that he has a lot of money, but he was a very nice guy. He said, it's okay. Then the guys who come to him to chew the green leaves, they told me, no, you're already late. Go to this school and ask them. They give you admission, things like that. And then I went. I asked them. They let me in, and the school had nice swimming pool, big field, and it looked heaven. It was amazing.
In Nairobi.
And yeah, we are about 30 students in a class. 29, 30.
That's half.
Prestige. That was prestigious. And when I started school, the kids were so nice. Kenyan kids were so nice. They gave me desk. They helped me finish all the missed notes. They explained to me everything. My English was so not there, but I used to understand them because they do it out of a lot of love.
You know, that's one thing I noticed. These Kenyans, they speak beautifully.
Yes.
Very
clear
soft.
English.
Clear English, very soft.
And then you understand every word.
Yeah, I love I love speaking to Kenyans, and also their vocabulary is really nice.
Yes, very powerful.
Yeah.
because of the content of education system they go through.
Oh, that's what it is.
Yeah.
Because I speak to a
It's
lot of
so
Kenyans
powerful.
and their language is so
Deep.
So deep. Yes.
Yeah, because I'll come to those things.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I became very. I developed into complicated individual because of the curriculum. I absorbed it like
A sponge.
a sponge in water. I just absorbed that thing in full. When I started this, what happened? I didn't have any clue. I did an exam. When I entered, it was midterm. Not midterm, but entry exam. I had no clue about anything. Thank God it was multiple choice. Everything was just A, B.
You drew a
But-
pattern. Yeah.
I decided to do one thing. I was given textbooks. I took those textbooks. I started reading like crazy. Okay, I knew how to read and write English properly. And I started doing mathematics. And I used to have a nice neighbor, Eritrean family, beautiful family. The daughter was in 8th grade, and the son was 4th grade. So I used to sit down with the daughter. She used to help me in 1, 2, this, that. And then I started picking up. First, I understood algebra, basic equations. And then I went that way. And English, I used to when I left home, I left home with a big dictionary with Amharic English. That's the only thing I took from home. Nothing else.
Just a
I don't know
dictionary.
why. That's the only thing I took from home. A 44,000 worded dictionary, a large one, of this volume.
Can I ask you a question? I'm sorry. I mean, I can't help it, but like, so now, like, you're probably like few months into Kenya, right?
Yeah.
What's your parents thinking at this point? They have no clue
No,
where you are?
they looked for me everywhere, around there. My siblings told me everything. I laughed for days. How they tried to
Find you?
Yeah, I had already. I planned this thing effectively. By the time I'm in Moyale, these guys are just looking around in the same town, in the same city. I'm already in Moyale. I'm already crossing the border, and these guys are looking for me down there. And things went.
Oh man, this is wild. Okay, and all right, so now this girl is helping you. She's in 8th grade, and you're starting to catch the drift. You learned algebra.
So what happened is,
Yeah.
I took those books and I sat down very seriously. I used to even Friday nights I stopped sleeping. I do and then the first one, the final exam when we did, I was first one. I was second last. The first exam, the second exam, that's the first exam. Then the last exam before we closed the term, I was number 21. I was a big thing. I understood now. Then when we come back, the 1 month, I finished the science book, the maths book, the what book, social studies, English. I finished them. I just finished them in 1 month.
How?
I stopped sleeping. That's how I am. Even at home, when I do something, I do it to death. And then I read and get. Now, when I went back to school, I became number 13 in the next exam. Then the end of second term, in mathematics, I got 100%. Science, I got 98%. Social studies, I got 95%. English, about 80 something. And Swahili was the one that dragged me back because it was so hard, really hard. Whatever the public speaks and the academia are completely different things. Swahili was initially I was paying attention to the things I have to understand first, and then I go step by step. Mathematics, when I got 100%, I said that is now me, and from there now, the things that I used to say when I was young, I'm gonna catch them one by one. I realized that, and then from there, something new. Everyone in class, when they need help, they come for science, mathematics, social studies. And that gave me very high drive and precaution to always stay ahead of everything. That was that was the most powerful turning point in my life. Well, that 100% in that maths paper changed everything, the way I see the world. From there, I didn't care about anything. I eat, I don't eat. I said, I don't care. No, that's the only thing I focus on. And teachers were so supportive. Students were so supportive. It's like I was in a large environment with my aunts and uncles. Yeah. It was so comfortable.
Oh my God.
That was the most beautiful. Those 3 years, grade 6, 7, and 8, are the most. I don't know. I want to go back and live them again.
I bet.
I'm telling you,
Yeah.
we used to have school trips. Wow. A lot of stuff. I joined the school soccer team. There used to be swimming pool. I didn't know how to swim. I learned how to swim. In fact, I even wanted to compete. I'm telling you. And finally, I did grade 8 and passed very well and went to high school.
In Nairobi.
Oh, yeah. I went to Aga Khan High School. And there is a school called Aga Khan, owned by Indian family, a big family. The Aga Khan family, they're a wealthy family.
So that's where you did your high school.
I did my high school there. It was a beautiful school. There we had, it was full, it had full facilities and everything. Well prepared. I was well prepared for university. And high school, I did the same thing. And from primary, I used to be head boy. Head boy is a school president. In grade 7, I was sports captain. Grade 8, head boy. Grade 9, grade 10, 11. I did a lot of stuff, but the school system was really amazing. Especially in high school, every day I go to school and come back home. I look at the things I learned, especially when I was in grade 10. In chemistry, if I learn structure and bonding. And in biology, I learned transport in plants, how mineral salts from the roots, water from the roots, and food from the leaves is transported across a plant scientifically. And that is in biology, in chemistry. And in physics, I learn Newton's laws, electromagnetism. Wow. I just go home and sit down and say yes. And in geography, you learn about internal earth forming processes, external earth forming processes. I mean, history, we learn agrarian revolution, industrial revolution, broadly. And when in high school, in Kenyan education system, there are no multiple choices. You read, understood, you pass exam. You did not read, you didn't understand, you are done. There is no multiple choice. Everything, a question has 20 marks, you have to write accordingly. Biology essay questions. English, it was the toughest one. English is really tough because we have to do literature, we have to do a lot of things. It was amazing. That's something because of that, when I came here, I was able to do tutoring easily. I tutor many courses here, many. I do a lot of tutoring because of the strength of the curriculum.
So after grade 12, now you want to go for engineering.
I went to mechanical engineering
in Nairobi.
University of Nairobi.
So do you have scholarship or something else?
No, the Ethiopian, or in Nairobi we have the Ethiopian Women Organization. Even the high school I went is a private high school, so they used to pay my school fees. So we have Ethiopian women in Nairobi. Most of them are working there. Others have their husbands, and they have some good
A community group.
Community group.
Okay.
Initially they started it to help women in the refugee camps and in the city, refugee women, But because of the personal connection and the way I was doing things, they were really like, they know this guy is going all this way.
So the kid has got potential. Let's
Yeah,
support
yeah,
him.
let's support him and see
Okay.
what he does. And also, I used to have good friends in the US, in Canada, who used to support me financially. When they send some big money, that's for, I have books, computers, everything. I buy everything. I used to have library from the beginning. I buy books, stack them, stack them, stack them, stack them. By the time I came, I had about 12,000 books. And internet and what. We used to have a company called Zuku, internet company. Initially, until 2009-10 in Kenya, internet was only for offices and very wealthy homes. It was not easy for the rest of the public to access. The minimum was about $40 by then, 40 USD, which was very expensive for a dom for a. And then Zuku came, $15 in the beginning. I used to pay per month, and because I was the first subscriber, it became $5 per month. High speed internet. That was in grade 9, 10. So
Wow.
you see, this is a kind of power I needed to fully charge myself in life. I have internet. Books are very cheap and available from the streets. I buy books from the streets, used books.
What about distractions? You didn't have any distractions?
I hated games, video games. I hate those things. I really hate. The only thing I like is just going out, having good time with friends, just enjoying drinks and conversation. I love conversation with people, laughing, cracking jokes.
So
I
you
do.
you don't have any other addictions?
No, none.
Like drugs,
No.
porn, nothing.
No. I just hate those things.
You just absolutely
No, I
was
hate
love it.
drugs, smoking. No, I just hate those things. I just get offended. When I see them, they offend me. I don't know. Video games. We gather in a house with all my friends. Then they say they want to play video games. I go there, buy my wine, blah blah. I sit and watch historical series or movie. Good movie. If it's pastime. Other than that, playing soccer, sports.
So that's it.
I do a lot of sports.
So getting out, playing with boys, or
Physical games, drinks,
for entertainment, just watching
entertainment,
old movies.
watching good movies, even contemporary science fiction movies. Deeply. I just love those ones.
So okay, so now you're in engineering, right, in University of Nairobi, and right after high school. That's 4 years,
5 years.
5 years. How did that go?
Okay, that was a very interesting one now. First year was fine. Second year was overwhelming. Everything is new. And the Kenyan education system is based on the British system. And the mathematical approach is equations and things like that. So by the time engineering is calculus based deeply, and when the function based mathematics was introduced in university, it took me some time to absorb that. I had to do personal studies. After even I finish the term, I normally go back and study everything again.
And even at this point, you haven't established any contact with your family.
Oh no, I communicate. When I finished high school, I sent them all I have many trophies at home. Many trophies, certificates, and many things. From grade 6, I used to be given certificates and trophies and things like that. I took photos, scanned everything, and I sent a bunch of stuff at home.
How did they react?
My father was shocked. You see, the thing is this. When I was young, he used to tell me something. Like I told you, he studied in Cuba, and in our family, the value of education is very high. It's not something negotiable. So he told me, if you are not educated, you are nobody. You are no one. You go anywhere, you do anything, it doesn't matter. you get this, it wouldn't matter. He has a theory that used to say that people could get as rich as they can if they don't have education. They always feel empty. He just says that they always feel empty, and whatever they have, it doesn't matter to them and to the rest of the world.
Interesting.
He just told me, and then I remember. So if I go to the West, if I come to the US or Canada, I don't. What am I going to be? It's just a very disturbing thing. So because of that, I was able to. So the university was a bit bumpy, but
they were happy now. The parents are happy. They're.
Oh yeah. No, they cannot believe what I went through. They cannot believe. They asking me, how did you manage all this?
Yeah.
No family, you have nobody there, you don't know anyone. How? They always ask me how. My siblings are always just speechless. They can't even say anything. I tell them you do this and that, and they just keep quiet and do. Because if I can't give, you see, I had the perfect platform to give excuse in life. I had a perfect excuse to fail. I say I didn't go to school because I was in this kind of situation. I didn't understand life because I was in this kind of problem. I was in a foreign land with no one around me, with no help. I could say that. But to whom am I going to say that?
To a bunch of people who doesn't really care?
Nobody. When you are a man, there is one thing I realized. When you are a man, not your mother, not your sister, not your wife, nobody cares. You fix your problem and get it there.
Yeah.
When you fix your problem and you get there, yes, they say, yes, my husband is good, my son is this,
provider.
My brother is this. Everyone becomes proud of you. But if you fail, women, it's not easy for women to fail, because if she has a husband, he'll take care of her. Yeah. As a husband, if you fail, your wife leaves you. Yeah. That's the man's reality. I learned those things very early. I realized them very early. When you are a man, you are a man. It doesn't matter.
Okay, let me ask you a radical question here, okay? The fundamental difference between everything you said versus what I experienced, like in my childhood, it's the fact that there's a lot of things, right? Number one, I didn't run away from my home. That's the biggest one, right? But more importantly, I was like, up until grade 12, high school, I was a kid. Like, I didn't have to work. I didn't have to do a lot of stuff. I remember working during a brief time when in grade 10, we have latex plantations, rubber plantations, where we extract latex.
Yeah.
My dad said, you know how there's this cup that collects the latex?
Yeah.
So there's sometimes what happens is he pours over and some remainings will be left. And over time, it builds up.
Okay.
So you can take it out and you get paid for it. Not as much as the actual latex, but slightly less. He said you can take it. If you clean it up and you sell it, you can keep that. So, and I did it, right? Because I would make money, right? And there was good money, good pocket money for me. I did that for a couple of times and the latex price went down. So my dad had to take it. So I just stopped doing it. But other than that, I didn't really have to work, right? That was not part of my childhood. But 14 years, that's from pre-kindergarten to grade 12, and 3 years later when I did my advanced diploma here in Conestoga. One thing was consistent. It was all about getting 80%, getting 90%. It was never about truly understanding what I was learning.
Yes. Either way, we will reverse seats and discuss those things.
Yeah. But the question is... But I think that's not just me. I think that's most of the population.
It's a general case. Yeah.
So the idea of education is to be educated.
The problem is this.
Yeah.
The system puts a lot of pressure on you. It's grade based system.
Correct.
If you don't get the grade, you'll be presumed to have failed, and you will think even employers will ask you for your grades.
Mike.
Yeah. Even you will even think
you can pull it back in.
You will even think employers will ask you for your grade, and they don't.
Nobody does.
Nobody does. Nobody cares.
Especially here.
Yeah, over here,
I've never had to show my certificate to nobody.
it's back home. They demand your degree and things like that
Right.
because there are so many. There are many issues. Yeah, we know that. But over here, the law doesn't allow, because one thing is clear. You cannot claim to be what you are not over here. It's not easy. The jobs are so fast and active. So the pressure put on you by the system, by the society, by family members, the expectations to get good grades. I was the one advantage I had was I was in charge of my own things. In the beginning, I showed in high school I used to get all A's, big A, everything. I used to get 99, 90, 90, all of them. I used to get all the trophies. So that gave the public off my shoulder.
Yeah, see, that is, you did that, but here's the difference. As I recall, it was never about understanding, it was about getting the best grades.
Yeah.
It was never about being smart.
Yeah.
It was always about sounding smart.
Yeah. I hated that. I really hated it.
But that
I never cared. I just never cared. It used to annoy me even. I used to have friends. I see them doing past papers the whole year. I ask you, what are you doing? What are you doing? I have one of my closest friends in Kenya. We grew up together from grade 6 until grade 12. We were in the same class. They took him to boarding school in grade 9. He refused and came to where I was. He just said no. And the one thing I supported him. We support each other, but mainly because I used to get. I was really into all the sciences and things like that. We just had a powerful support mechanism with all the group. I never leave any friend behind. That was a rule. We sit down, we study weekends and holidays, and we study like crazy. But we used to discuss those things. The guy became a lawyer. He's an outstanding lawyer with very powerful knowledge. The things that I talk, he does the same. Because as we grew up, we had this temperament and how do I put it? We used to spend a lot of time discussing very deep things when we were young. Very deep things. Conspiracy theories, we finished those things in grade 10. I'm talking about very deep things, because every time I see something, I'm so curious, I go and do research about it. When we meet, we sit down and discuss. When even in university, I used to study. We used to study in their place every Saturday night after school. We meet there. We spend the whole night studying. When he does his law, when he was studying law, I told him whenever he comes across interesting case, we discuss legal things. We used to discuss those things. Sometimes I feel like I should be a lawyer, but that's why I'm telling you. I never cared about what people think, what people want. That's not my problem. The one thing I realized is this. If I study engineering and I just passed engineering, when you look for a job and you do interview, what are you going to say? How is that going? That is why most people who study engineering here or everywhere, even locally, are not doing engineering job, because everything is hanging in the balance. They focused on passing it, and after exam they forget everything.
Correct.
Everything.
So what's the difference?
I say the grades go to hell. The rule number 1: when I finish a certain course during the holiday while working, I study the whole thing again. There is no grading for it. There is no grading for it. But I have to balance. I have to pass the exams. It's not optional. I really have to pass. And in fact, I have to do very well. Especially if it's a very tough course, I make sure I get big A. But at the same time, I have to understand and retain everything. Retain. The retention comes from repeating it. For example, before I came here, I had about 6 months. My flight was cancelled because COVID broke out. In March 18th, all airports in the world shut down. My flight was in April 20th, 2020. Because of that, flights were prolonged. I had about 6 months at home with myself. That is the best time in the history of my life. I started from first course to the last course. And mathematics, I added so many things I never learned. I'm talking about advanced mathematics. I'm talking about mathematics master students do in School of Mathematics. Because I had all the foundations properly there. All I needed to do is connect the remaining dots. So with this remaining time, I did everything. When I came back, when I came here, I was fully loaded. Fully loaded. I applied for the first tutoring job, and the guy has been operating his tutoring company since 1989, a while ago. And he told me, how will you handle this? He said he needs my papers and everything. I sent him. He said, any other paper I have. I did my projects and I got certificates and money awards because I did a very powerful project. I did a project that they used to change the curriculum. They said they need to change the curriculum, so how do we improve it? I did a paper on that, a big paper. I showed them what the curriculum was and how whatever it is they need to do. Because of that, I got certificate. I sent him everything. I told him, just relax, give me 4 or 5 students. If they complain, fine. And if they don't, you will see. He said, okay, so what do you teach? I gave him about 10 courses. He said, you are serious? I just told him, just bring the students. First time he sent me advanced engineering mathematics, calculus, advanced calculus, quantum mechanics for electronic communication, for computer engineering students. And he sent me about 5, and then fundamental basic calculus, differential and integral calculus. Those students started asking me, I need this course, I need this course, I need this course, I need that course. They came to take 1, they started taking 2 and 3. And then I asked him, now what about now? He started sending me all the students. He put me on a priority list. When he has a student, the first he sends. Right now, so what I'm trying to tell you is the sacrifice and the price paid to understand comes with ignoring what the public wants. I never cared about that. I think one of the reasons is because I was on my own. So I was free from the pressure.
Okay. So what do you want?
What
do you want?
Okay. You see, now...
As in, when you look forward at your life...
You're talking about the fulfillment.
Because you're putting so much effort.
Yeah.
You're not signing up for comfort whatsoever.
Yeah.
You're grinding like crazy. You're hustling like crazy.
Yeah,
you're working full time as an engineering manager during the day. In the evenings you're tutoring, and you're not stopping with learning. You're just continuously learning.
Yeah.
And I don't know, maybe it's my ignorance, but typically when people do it like this, they have a big goal. They have a big reason.
Yeah, I think that's something it has to show itself in time. I normally can't talk about it, but that is true. That is true. At some point, you learn, you see, you connect all the dots, and then you get to the metrics.
Have you ever read the book The Alchemist?
Yeah. I did not read it in full. I started it, but I read summaries because of time. But it's a book I have to complete.
So what's your personal legend? I mean, I don't know if you...
No, I grew up reading these books from this New York book, but like... Bestsellers like Stephen Covey books. First Things First, Principle-Centered Leadership, Seven Habits of Highly Effective People,
Cool.
7 Habits of Highly Effective Teens,
So-
8 Habits.
So the Alchemist, I don't know if you recall the story. Do you remember the story or?
No, that one I need to.
Okay, so
I had a
I'm
book, but I was in dilemma between The Alchemist and a book for project management.
went on with the project manager.
No, pro,
You took the project manager.
because what am I going to be?
Yeah. So the book, I'll give you a nutshell the story.
Yeah.
Okay. So the Alchemist, I'm probably going to butcher the story, but still, like, and I'll give you a summary. So it starts off with a boy who's just sleeping under a tree, and he gets a dream about finding gold under a pyramid in Egypt. So he brushes it off, but then he's going to the city now to basically give the gold to the guy who kind of take the wool, right, off the sheeps. He travels to the city. In the city, he decides to meet a gypsy woman who would predict the future or reads the hand. Or reads the dream. So he explains his dream, and she says, well, you're going to find the treasure. And she says, if you get it, you have to give me 10%. And he says, he says, whatever. He gets out because he said, that's complete bullshit. I'm not going to do it. He goes to the city. He runs into an old guy. This old guy kind of interferes while he was reading a book. And then this old guy, out of nowhere, he starts talking about the dream. So the boy thinks this is her husband who's here to grab some money from him. But this guy tells him, hey, listen, I'll tell you the path and all that stuff. You just have to give me 1/10 of the sheep. Anyways, he ended up having a conversation with this guy, and this guy said, this is what you have to do. You have to travel. You have to do this and this. You have to sell all your sheep, get the money, travel to Egypt, right? He's in Spain, I think. And then he decides, he was about to meet the guy who's buying the wool from him, the merchant's daughter. He kind of had a thing for her. So he was excited to meet her. But then he decides to travel to Egypt. He sells his sheep. He goes to Egypt. He meets another Englishman. And the Englishman is in Egypt to meet alchemist, so he can learn alchemy. And alchemy is where you can convert any metal into gold. Right?
Yeah.
So the Englishman is there to learn alchemy. The boy is there to hunt his treasure. Anyways, the boy runs into a bar where he meets a new guy. He ends up stealing everything from the boy. So the boy ends up working for a guy who sells crystals. So the boy and the guy works for months. They make enough money. Now the boy is ready. He has enough money to go to Egypt. And that's where he meets the Englishman. They get on top of the camel. They talk stories. There's a big war going on in the desert. But anyways, they get to an oasis. And oasis is a zone where they don't fight. But the boy sees a falcon. And the boy takes it as a sign of a fight where oasis was going to be attacked. And the people in oasis says, well, if it gets attacked, for every man they kill, the boy gets a gold coin. But if it doesn't get attacked, and if the sword came out of the sheath, they have to have blood in the sword, and it'll be the boy's blood. But anyways, these guys came to attack. They killed, and the boy became the oasis counselor. Now he meets with the alchemist, and here he also meets a girl called Fatima, who he falls in love with. And the boy meets with the alchemist, and the alchemist was ready to help him go to Egypt. And the boy says, well, I'm not here to see you, the Englishman is. And the alchemist says, well, it's not his time yet. And the boy says, but I don't have to go to Egypt. I have so much money, because every gold coin he got for killing all the soldiers, that's a lot of gold coins. And I also have the love of my life. Why would I go to Egypt now? Because I've got the love of my life, I've got a ton of money. There's no reason for me to go to Egypt. So the alchemist tells him, well, if you don't go to Egypt, you're going to be fine for a year, you're going to live happy, you're going to be a rich man. And the dreams will start coming back. And you will continue to ignore them. And then the dreams will keep coming back for the next year, the year after, and for the next 5 years. And then after that, the dreams will stop coming. And at a point, you're going to resent Fatima because you didn't go for your dreams. You didn't go for your legend. And Fatima is going to be sad because she's going to think it's because of her that you didn't go for your dream. for your legend. So the boy decides, okay, I'll go to Egypt. So the boy travels on the desert. There's tons of other stuff happens in the desert. Finally, he reaches Egypt, and the alchemist travels back to Oasis. And they get to a monastery where the alchemist gives 3 gold coins. So he makes gold out of the thing, and then he gives 1 gold coin to the guy at the monastery. Sorry, 2. And he says, 1 is for you. 1 is when the boy comes back. If he loses the gold coin, he also gives 1 to the boy. And he says, if the boy loses this, you have to give it to him. And then he travels back. And the boy ends up going to Egypt, where he gets attacked by thieves. The boy was digging to find this.
Yeah.
Right? The thieves attack him. And when the thieves attacked him, and at the end, the thief said, oh, this guy is a crazy guy. He just came out here for gold. This is stupid. Why would he ever do it? One day I had a dream that I was sleeping under some tree and there was gold underneath the tree. So you remember when I started the story, I said the boy was lying under a tree?
Yeah.
So and the boy goes back to Spain and he finds the treasure under the tree where he was lying.
Okay.
And when he was standing there, there's a breeze coming. And then in the breeze, he caught Fatima's scent. That's the end of the story. But the point of the story is we all have a personal legend.
Yeah. Everyone has history.
Yeah.
And
we all know it when we were kids.
yes.
And then we kind of ignore it as we grow up.
Yeah, yeah.
But if we don't go for it,
It does. You have to fight for what is yours,
yeah.
and what is yours will rot before anyone touches it, and no one is going to touch what is yours. And at the same time, being a high flyer comes with a lot of price. People think when we hear about some of these people who develop systems, if you ask them how many nights they lost their sleep, how many days, and how much organs they have deformed, they will tell you. The sacrifices people have to put in figuring out things. I don't know, if lack of sleep kills, I would have been dead. Because some of the things I did, whatever it is you do, requires a lot of sacrifice. Earlier we were talking about similar thing. Yeah. So now you see
Yeah.
how much you have to put into something
Yeah.
to see a different, unique, outstanding result. Right now, I don't know how to put it, but it reaches a point whereby it's like you have your seed, you have your land, you sow your seeds, and then you expect your crops to grow, and when they ripe, then you gather what you have sown. But the process of preparing the land and spreading the seed is where the most of the work is. When everything is ready, plucking, that's not a work. So the parable of the sower follows. So we are good.
So you're not going to disclose what's your legend.
Oh, no.
You want to keep it a secret.
You can't. And
So going back to your college, so you did like 4 years in university?
5.
5 years in university.
Yeah.
So did you do masters or just undergrad?
No, undergrad.
And then you came here?
Yeah.
Right after that?
Yeah.
You were like, when this is done, I'm going to go to Canada.
Yeah, and because
Did you work after that?
I used to work. I used to do quality control, data analysis for market research company. It's called Kantar TNS. They have a branch in Toronto. It's a big corporation.
How'd you get permanent residence?
No, I was doing it. There is a special permit for. I was doing I was analyzing Ethiopian data. Most of the data comes in Amharic, so it needs translation into English and transcription, and nobody can do that. So I used to do that. And
Right.
if I'm busy with school, I had to train people to do it. But normally the company gets me any time available, weekends and any other, to do the work. It was a good job I used to do because I used to know I used to understand the trend of companies, and I used to be able to tell which company is going to collapse when, because the data comes from the young people go outside, do interviews, fill in forms in paper tablets and things like that. They collect public opinion and they bring. So the population analysis and everything that used to come. So I used to clean that data, get it ready, and then create a proper dashboard and visualize everything clearly, and know which company dominates the market, which companies have survival tendency, and which companies have the tendency to vanish. That was a good one.
So you did so once you finished your grade 12, you went to engineering college.
Yeah, but okay. But in the church, I used to do IT management
So
because
when you were in engineering, you stayed at a church.
yeah, I was until I came here.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then like right after school, you became a data.
No, that's when I was in school, in university.
And when the university was
Yeah.
done, then
When I came, that
when did you apply for Canada?
in Canada. No, that was 2019. Then I came. It ended in less than 3 months.
So you graduated in 2019,
Yeah.
and then you applied.
No, mine is you see, I told you the background history I gave you about Ethiopian politics is because when Ethiopians, when they come here, they don't come for majority come as a refugee.
Okay,
Yeah. So mine is the same thing, the same story.
got it.
Because of the tribal nonsense, bullshit that happened back home, really affected everything in our of our lives, and it also came direct into our homes, direct. So especially the election, the 2005 election, really affected us directly. So settling, working, doing everything became very difficult because of the political instability, and the structure was really bad. It's still bad. It still requires some major reformation.
So you moved here as a refugee, and
Yeah.
then you secured your permanent residence.
No, when you come as a refugee, you land as a permanent resident. When you land, you are a permanent resident.
Got it.
In 3 years, you are a citizen.
So are you a citizen now?
Yeah. Because it has most people take long time because of the language barrier. Language is difficult.
Yeah.
And the test is very challenging. So it takes some people take 5 years, 6 years.
So you no longer have an Ethiopian passport. You only have Canadian
Yeah.
passport. You're a Canadian now
Yeah.
for
But
generations
now,
to come.
for us, if we go back and reclaim, it's
You
one
can get
day.
it.
Oh, yeah, well, just one day. There is no question.
Why did you choose Canada?
Uh, uh,
States has more.
no, the 2008 recession in the US reduced the number of immigrants and refugees into the US completely. And then from there, they were unable to take people. So they concentrated on professional professional green card applications for people with education. Even if when you are a refugee, people don't care whether you have education or not. But Canada was open, so it was easily accessible, and we have our churches everywhere. So, for example, one of my friends sent me a sponsorship paper immediately. So through the church, our churches, we have sponsorship programs for refugees everywhere.
So that's the story.
Yes.
That's wrap. All right.